Once again, I'm just going to share a quick strategy on the Dailypip cycle. So in this video, I'm just going to break down the entire 24-hour market cycle for the forex market that continuously repeat. So first of all, what sessions do we have in the market? We have these 5 sessions that we mostly use, which is the Sydney session. We have the Sydney session, the Asian session, the Frankfurt, London, and the New York session. We have the Sydney session, we have the Sydney, we have the London session, so we have the London session, we have the Frankfurt session, we have the New York session, we also have lastly we have the Asian session. Okay, we firstly have the Sydney, then we have the Asian, then we have the Frankfurt, then we have the London. After London, then we have the New York session. So the Sydney session, remember, before I forgot, I'm using the UTC, which is the London time zone, so you can convert it in your current time zone, in your time zone that you prefer. So firstly we have the Sydney session, the the Sydney session, the Asian session, the Frankfurt, the London, and the New York session. The Sydney session opens at 10 p.m. and closes at 12 p.m. at 12 o'clock, I mean. And the Asian session open at 12 o'clock, then closes at 6 a.m., which is a 6-hour session. And the Frankfurt session opens 16:15 a.m. until 7:30 a.m. The London session opens 8 until 3 p.m. 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. And we have lastly the New York session, which opens at 6 p.m. Then the cycle repeat itself. The Sydney session open at 6 a.m. The Sydney session opens at 22 p.m. until 12, and the Asian 12 until 6. The Frankfurt 6:15 until 7:30 a.m. London session 8 until 3 p.m. and the New York is 4 p.m. until then the cycle continues again. So what happens and what thing to expect in this daily range, the Dailypip cycle, is that when the market opens in the Sydney, the market, what it does, remember, it is a 2-hour session. So what happens is that the market opens. When the market opens, the Asian, the Sydney ranges. Then after the Sydney ranges, we have what? the opening of the Asian. What Asians do, what the Asian London do usually, it either breaks the high or the low of the Sydney. So we'll break the high or the low, the high and the low of what? Of Sydney. The high and the low of Sydney, then we create a range. After that little range, we have what? The Frankfurt. What Frankfurt does, remember it is just an hourly, something like that, an hourly session. So what happens? The market either breaks the high or the low of what? Of our Asian session. Sydney breaks the high or the low of the Frankfurt. Frankfurt breaks the high or the low of Asian. Let me stop here and continue. Okay. Remember, guys, I'm just using the I'm using the bearish day. Same concept apply even on a bullish day. So when the market opens, it is the Sydney session that usually occur between 10 until 12. From 12 until 6, that's what? That's our Asian session. 6:15 until 7:30, that's our Frankfurt session. Asian session usually breaks the high and the low of the Sydney. Let me use this to highlight. We have the opening, which gives us the Sydney, which is the Sydney, just like this. We have the Asian, which breaks what? The low and the high of Sydney. Asia breaks the high and the low of Sydney. Let me use this color of Sydney. Of Sydney. Then the Frankfurt opens either the low or the high of Asia. This is what happens. It breaks the low, either the low or the high of Sydney. It will depend on the daily bias of the structure of the market, the daily bias of the market. So after that, that's our Sydney session, that's our Asian session, this is our Frankfurt. After that, you can just highlight the 50% of our Asian session. And this 50% of this of our Asian session, sorry, that's when we get what? Mostly the order blockers or the point of interest of London session forms. The point of interest of London usually forms in the middle of what? Of the high and the low of what? Of our Asian session. So okay, let me do like this. This is what? This is our Sydney, this is our Asian session, and this is our Frankfurt, and this is our Frankfurt session. This is our Sydney, Asian session, and the Frankfurt. The Asian session breaks the low and the high. The breaks the low and the high of what? Of Sydney, and the Frankfurt either breaks the low or the high of the Asian session. It will depend on the daily bias. I repeat. Okay, so after that, the London forms. When the London forms, oh sorry, let me use this. Okay, let me cancel this. After the London open, the London open, the London open, the London opens. After that, the London opens to break what? The low and the high of the Frankfurt. The London opens to break what? The high and the low of Frankfurt, of the Frankfurt session. Remember, Frankfurt session is just an hour, 1 hour or 1 hour 30 minutes session. So when London breaks the high and the low of the Frankfurt, it creates an order blocker. Usually that order blocker occurs in the middle of Asian session, like I've shown you here, that you can highlight the 50% of the Asian session. Mostly that's when our point of interest occurs. Then we have what? The point of interest. Then after that we have what? The point of interest. This is what? This is our London session. Let me highlight it with a different color so you can get it. This is what? Oh, sorry. What's happening with this? What's happening with this? What's happening with this? It doesn't change color. Okay. But then I hope you guys get it. So this is the London. Here's our London. Remember I said during the London we create what? The point of interest that we will later come and respect it on our New York session. Then the New York starts. Then when the New York starts, we do what? We respect the order blocker or the point of interest that was formed on our order block that was formed on our London session. Then we do what? We distribute. Then we do what? We distribute. After that we do what? We distribute and move into our preferable direction, into our daily bias direction. So what happens? This is the daily pip cycle. We have the Sydney open, the Sydney opens, then the London breaks the low and the high of what? Breaks the low and the high of what? Of our Sydney session. Then the Frankfurt will break either the low or the high of Asian session depending on the daily bias. After that, the London will do what? Will break the low and the high of Frankfurt. On our way down, we create what? An order block. So after that order blocker, during the New York session, we will come back and do what? And respect this point of interest. Then we target what? The low of the London. Then we target the low of the London session as our take profit. Or you may log your profit, use the trailing stop, then do what? Go down with it until it kicks your stop loss. So this is the simple strategy that I wanted to show you guys. It is the daily pip cycle. That's how the market usually forms. That's how market unfold according to the algorithm of the market. The Sydney opens, the Asian breaks the low or the high of the market, or the Sydney, the Frankfurt breaks either the low or the high, depending on the direction. Then the London breaks the Frankfurt, the low and the high of the Frankfurt. Then on our way down, we create what? We create a point of interest. Then at a later stage, during the New York session, we do what? We respect, then we drop. So let's check it out and see if the same thing applies on the chart. Let's see and see if the same thing applies on the chart. Okay, I've highlighted few here. Okay, this is Euro USD. Today's market. The market opened here at 10 p.m. at 10 p.m. Until 12. That was our Sydney session. And then what did the market do? We break what? The low. We break the low of what? Of the Sydney to create the low here of the Asian session. We created, this is our Asian session high, is the Asian session low. You can remember, you have to do what? Check on your time frames. Check on your time frames each and every session and highlight it with the color so that you can have a perfect thing. Then it will give you a perfect and a daily direction. So this is the Frankfurt. It opened at 16:15. You can check here on my on the cursor, 16:15 until what? Until 7:30. After 7:30, what did we do? The London here, it did what? It broke the high of the Sydney, the high of the Frankfurt and the low of the Frankfurt. Then on our way down, what did the London do? It created the point of interest or an order block. Where is this order blocker from? It is on the 50% of what? Of our Asian session low, high and low. This is our point of interest. Then we came back here and the New York opened here for outlook here. As you can see, the New York opened and we came to do what? To respect this point of interest here. Then we did what? We started to distribute. Remember, I say we target what? The low of the London. We target the low of the London. So if we had a good entry here, then we would have collected this few pips here. So this is just a basic this is just a strategy on how you can scalp to catch 20 to 30 pips. This thing happens each and every day, just on different pairs. Mostly check pairs that has US dollars. That's what I recommend you use it from. So as I was saying, the London, the Sydney opened, then we created the low and the high of what? Of the Asian. Then the Frankfurt, what did the Frankfurt do? It broke the what? The low of what? Of our Asian session. Okay. Then the London broke what? Broke this high, these two, the high and the low here. Then on our way down, it created what? The point of interest, which is the midpoint between the high and the low of the Asian session. Then at the later stage, we came and respected here. This is a few. Then we would have collected this few pips here. Hope you guys get the strategy on what I mean. We would have targeted the low of the Asian and highlighted this point of interest here. We will have something like this. So we would have refined this point of interest here. Thank you guys.